Hey folks, Bill Demas from Herman Wells, your disability and insurance attorney. We are here again with a curse of knowledge, but this is a special one. This is a Christmas fire safety. I am blessed to have one of my great friends, Joe, who is a captain with the local fire department, and he is here to talk about some Christmas safety issues, because whenever we're doing stuff around Christmas time, he always has to remind me about stuff. For how long you been there, Joe?
15 years.
15 years. I've heard it every year, so I said, let's get it on tape so I can remember and share with you guys. So, Joe, how long have you been a firefighter?
22 years.
Okay. And you've done all aspects of firefighting through your department, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are the most common causes of household fires during Christmas?
It can be anything from space heaters when we have cold nights. Improper use of those can lead to a lot of fires. On top of that, it's just Christmas trees are extremely flammable. People need to check the lights that they put them on each year, make sure that there's no cracks or exposed wiring. You need to make sure, preferably, to use LED lights instead of incandescent lights, because they're less likely to start a fire. And like I said, always make sure you got water in the tree. All your decorations that are, powered by electricity, run through them each year, make sure there's no exposed wiring, and then that they're safe to use. Also, don't overload sockets and breakers.
So let's break it down a little bit. For Christmas tree safety, real tree versus fake tree, there's all this stuff out there that one's safer than the other one, is safer than the other one. What's your take on that? Especially now that fake trees are mainly pre-lit, so they already come with the lights strewn on them. And
fake trees are probably a little bit safer because there's a little less maintenance involved. You don't have to maintain the water level. You don't have to make sure they're not going dry and brittle on you. I mean, there is a shelf life on a real tree.
Right.
The fake ones also, that you have to do your due diligence, because if it's 10 years old, even though it's pre-lit, still make sure that all the wiring is still intact and there's no exposed wiring.
And what do you see, because of your career has been down here in Florida? So people take their fake trees and they throw them up in their attics for most of the years, and the attics will get to 110, 115 degrees. When they pull that instructions out and it says, oh, this tree is fire retardant for 10 years, or these lights are good for 10 years, how does the extreme heat in the attics and garages in Florida affect that?
I'm not sure if it has any effect on the fire retardant factor of the plastic, but I know that the wiring, it can make it more brittle and likely to split and expose wiring.
Okay. And you said that a couple times, and so you would think that the checking the wiring, just not, if your tree comes on, people go, oh, all the lights work. No, they have to go and actually look at the plugs in the wiring to make sure that they're not brittle and cracked.
Yeah, make sure. And preferably, the good thing is most of your newer modern trees are going to be LED lit, which is a lower voltage, and it's a little bit safer to run than the old incandescent bulbs.
Okay. When you talk about watering with real trees are extremely flammable even when they're well watered, correct?
Yes. Most of it is just that the pine needles are basically very, very flammable.
Right. And I know after the season, people drag their Christmas trees out and put them on the curb for the city to come pick up, or the county. Some people like you and I save the Christmas trees and we use them as firewood.
Fire starter is perfect because it's basically like turpentine on a branch.
Right. So just a word of advice that you can give people who decide, oh, I'm going to save my tree and chop it up and use it as firewood. First of all, never use it in your indoor fireplace.
Never.
Correct?
Never use it inside, never use it in a fireplace, even as a fire starter. It's just too unpredictable.
Now, if you have an outside fire pit and you're going to use it, less is more with those trees, because a normal chunk or a normal bunch of leaves that you would throw on from an oak tree onto a fire that raises it a couple feet, it's going to be like a flamethrower.
It's going to be like putting lighter fluid on it.
Right.
And also, if you do have an outside fire, make sure that you look at all your local and county ordinances as well, and make sure that you're abiding by those for safety reasons.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Most of them tell you to have the fire at least 15, 20 feet from the house, to have it either in a pre-approved vessel, or how to make your own that's safe.
Mm-hmm. And Joe keeps on doing this camera, because my fire pit is actually right across from where we're standing. So I think he's going to write me up, because I guess I'm not 15 feet from the house. So you were talking about
out of jurisdiction.
You got to talk about space heaters, my friend. People don't use space heaters as much down here than they do up north, but when they use them, how close should they be to furniture, to trees, to decorations?
Usually we're just going to tell everybody with the particular brand they buy, go with the manufacturer's recommendations.
Okay.
Those should be included with the space heater when you buy it, and just go by manufacturers. They'll tell you to have it so far from an object, not any closer to an object.
And you're talking about electric space heaters, because nobody should ever do a gas or propane space heater inside their house, correct?
Oh, yeah. Most of them now you're going to find it, especially in Florida, going to be electric.
Right, but for those people that are really cold and they have their camping space heater, their Coleman stove, Don't burn those.
Don't do that inside. No.
Right. And why is that?
It's the possibility of releasing carbon monoxide in the house, and it's an odorless gas. You can't smell it, but it does have consequences.
Okay. And I know this is a big thing with you. So I had this question. Is it safe to leave Christmas lights on overnight or when you're not around?
We recommend not to. Always have somebody there just in case.
So it's like a candle. You don't leave a candle unattended. You don't leave Christmas lights unattended.
Exactly.
Now, you had mentioned this before, and I wrote it down. The difference between LEDs, mini lights, and the old school bulbs. You're suggesting LEDs.
Yeah, LEDs are basically just a light emitting diode. It's a lot less electricity. It's a lower voltage and way less likely to catch on fire.
Okay. Now, and you had also touched on this before, but I have a question. People love to do the Clark Griswold, right? So 40 plugs, 40 extension cords and splitters on one plug. Can you give us some extension cord tips and tricks on this?
The type of lights and bulbs that you buy, they will have manufacturer's recommendation in the packaging of how many you can string together, how many you can throw on one outlet, and we recommend abiding by those recommendations. And again, like an LED, you're going to be able to string a lot more of those together than you will at a higher energy or higher voltage incandescent bulb.
But the same rule applies, right? If you have one extension cord, if you have a splitter and you have 3 extension cords running out, you just don't count the 3 extension cords. You count what's plugged into the extension cords that go into the outlet.
And everything's going to come back. If it comes back to one, you have to make sure that that one extension cord is rated to handle that load.
And it's not cut, cracked, and it's in good shape too, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people can have a fire in their house, not because the socket is overloaded, but because they have a damaged extension cord, an older extension cord that's rated to handle stuff inside a bedroom, not floodlights. And the extension cord itself will get hot and catch on fire.
Well, even your extension cords will have a different gauge wiring in them. And when you buy it, it'll tell you basically what it can handle. So you don't want to overload a cord with something it's not rated for.
Right. And I've seen it where I've gone over people's houses, things don't look right, and I'll touch the extension cord, and the extension cord is hot to the touch.
Well, I always think of that movie, A Christmas Story, when they have 17 things plugged into one row and they touch it, like sparks keep coming out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Now, some people love using candles around the holidays for decorations, for smelling good, things like that. What are some tips that you can do about using candles in the house, either during Christmas or people burn them all year round?
Well, like you said earlier, never leave them unattended. Don't leave them in your house if you're going to leave. Make sure they're in a vessel that's designed to carry a candle, something that can't fall over or get knocked over easily. And don't put them anywhere near anything that can be caught on fire, whether that be curtains or anything else, loose material that could be blown into it. Don't put it near any kind of live Christmas tree. Even some people get the smaller little ones inside their house. And like I said, those are extremely flammable, so you don't want an open flame near any of those.
Even at their peak of watering, even when they're still on the ground,
it'll still catch on fire.
The trunk may not catch immediately, but all the big woof is going to come from all the pine needles.
All the pine needles are going to release all the heat first.
Yeah.
And basically it'll just be the wood left over.
And then that'll start cooking.
But I mean, it'll be a huge fire that'll last for about 30 seconds, but that's enough to light pretty much your entire house on fire.
Right. And talking about fire in fireplaces, people now, it's getting cooler here, especially in Florida, start lighting their fireplaces. We don't use it that often, so you use a fireplace a couple times a year, whether they're gas or wood burning. Let's just talk about the gas. What people tend to forget is that even though they don't use it very much, you have to get your chimney flue and chimney cleaned for fire safety, correct?
Yeah, with gas fireplaces, it's a little bit less because it's cleaner burning.
But you still have to have maintenance.
But yeah, you still want to have it maintained, make sure that the flue is intact, then basically it's going to be able to trap the heat. With wood burning fireplaces, you need to basically, I got mine cleaned last year, and the professional that came out basically said about every 60 fires you want to have it cleaned, because there'll be a creosote buildup in the inside of the flue, and that can become flammable and cause a chimney fire.
Okay, so the creosote is what?
Basically, it's just a residue of incomplete combustion that'll build up on the inside of the pipe, and over time, it can catch on fire.
Okay, and the one thing, and again, there's pine trees all over this country, but especially where we are in Florida. In Florida itself, there's a high concentration of pines, wild pines, stuff like
See where you're going with this? Don't put pine in your fireplace.
Right. Okay.
So you want hardwoods only. Nothing that's going to have a resin or a sap inside,
Right.
because that can basically heat up and pop and shoot things out of your fireplace into your house. Even if you have a screen, it can get through the screen sometimes. So it's hardwoods only. Don't use any kind of pines or any woods that'll have a sap residue on the inside.
Hardwoods are your oaks.
Oaks, yeah.
Those, down here in Florida, your main hardwood.
When you buy your wood for your fireplace, it's usually labeled hardwood.
Right.
So it's good for the fireplace.
Right. Now, people say that you got to go check your smoke detectors and the batteries every 6 months. I put my check in on my batteries and change the ones that aren't hardwired into my house. I do it right when I decorate for Christmas. I check those smoke detectors. Even if you change your smoke detectors, let's say 3 or 4 months ago, it's good to give them an extra check around the holidays because of all the decorations and the lights, right?
Yeah, it's easy to just hit the test button and see if it's still functioning. But obviously, check your smoke detectors at a time that you'll remember to do it. But you will usually recommend that during time changes. So when you set your clocks forward or back, at that time, check your smoke detectors as well. It's just an easy way to remember to do it. So messing with your clocks, check your smoke detectors.
In this, it's amazing. The more people I talk to, I ask them if they have a fire extinguisher in their house. And the majority of people say, no, why? What is a really good rule of thumb for a fire extinguisher? Should everybody have them? Where should it be? That type of thing.
We would recommend having a fire extinguisher in the house. Keep it near the kitchen, where it's easily accessible near the kitchen. A majority of your fires in the house, not all, but a majority are usually in the kitchen area when they get started. So we would have it, accessible near the kitchen area. Maybe a hallway or something leading off the laundry room, something like that. But just
I want everybody to realize we're not talking about the ones where you go into a commercial building and these big old fire extinguishers. There are ones for home use that are just compact versions of those.
Yeah, they're not all this big. There's some compact ones, but just a good dry chemical fire extinguisher will pretty much do most of your needs.
And also what people have to realize about fire extinguishers is you may buy it now, but it has a gauge on there and you check that gauge periodically to make sure that it's still...
It'll also have a tag on there with an expiration date, and what the expiration date will tell you, if it goes past that, there's a possibility that the gas inside could have leaked out and it might not work in an emergency when you need to use it.
Okay.
And also, most fire stations will not be able to work on or take in your fire extinguisher and replace it. You have to actually go to a professional company for that.
Okay. Now, the last thing about these fires is that a lot of us have pets. Dogs, cats, and when people are decorating the house and using candles and space heaters and Christmas lights, they have to take into account their pets, right?
So, absolutely, especially if it's a new pet that's not properly trained. Like just now, I got 2 new puppies, so we decided not to get a real tree this year because they're not trained around it. They're too young to be responsible around it. So, if you do have animals, you just have to be cognizant of how they can act in the house and make sure they're not chewing the wiring, make sure they're not, getting in anything they're not supposed to.
Tails knocking over candles.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. And same thing with children. Yes. If you have candles,
absolutely
raise it. If you have space heaters or whatever, and you have children, you have to realize is that they're new, shiny, and bright, and the kids may go after them. So, and you may have child safety things on all your plugs, and then you plug in your Christmas lights. You have to put the child safety plug on the end of the Christmas lights because that's an open plug.
Yeah.
Here we go, guys. Our lightning round questions that we ask everybody. Joe is on the hot seat. So, what is your favorite activity, pastime, or hobby?
Napping.
Okay.
Is this it?
Your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Coffee.
Favorite movie?
Goonies.
Starbucks or Dunkin' for coffee?
Dunkin'.
Do people that sit directly on the beach without a towel or a chair normal, or do they need help?
That's normal.
Like to be like sugar cookies. Me and Trish are gonna be sitting in the chairs. Ketchup on your eggs or no?
No.
Okay. Thin or thick crust pizza?
Thin.
Do you eat candy corn?
No.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Do you like the flapper or the drummy on chicken wings?
I like the flapper.
Corner brownie or middle brownie?
Middle.
Death row meal and dessert. One meal and dessert you have. Last one you eat. What is it going to be?
That's some form of cheesecake.
Okay. And how about for the meal? The protein in that?
Oh, we're going with a surf and turf.
Desert island album. You're stuck on an island with one album that you can listen to but it's the only one you can listen to. Who is it going to be?
That's rough. Probably Dirty Heads.
Okay. A person either currently alive or from history that you want to sit down and have a beer with.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's a good one. An artist or group that is no longer touring that you never saw in concert but wish you did.
Led Zeppelin.
Your first celebrity crush.
Oh, Selma Hayek.
That's the age difference between us. Mine was Daisy Duke. We're on Dukes of Hazzard, Kathleen Bach. Favorite city in the world other than the one you live in that you want to keep on visiting? And you've traveled the world, so.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Edinburgh.
Would you rather be able to speak every language, every human language, or talk to animals?
I speak every human language.
Yeah. That's the key indicator. Some people would say animals.
In the sitcom was How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. How about movie?
That was Goonies.
Goonies.
Okay. Yeah, it just brings me back to my childhood.
So this was an educational. Thank for Joe for sitting down with us. I know we didn't speak any legal, but we don't do that all the time on this series. Again, my name is Bill Demas from Herman Wells, your personal injury and disability attorney. If you have any questions, call us 727-821-3195 or find us at hermanandwells.com. Thank you very much, and we wish all you a safe and happy holiday season. See you later.